Good afternoon, Scott. Welcome to another episode here with us at Segment Group podcast. And
I'm nervous.
because of our discussion around being in business and feel like you don't have any resources and what to do.
Exactly. That was perfect. You did that really well.
I'm nervous too about this episode because it is a really scary place as being a business owner. You and I both have been there.
Terrifying.
And whether you're just starting off or downtime in the economy, like right now or 2008, all of a sudden you can feel like, hey, we don't have any resources. So how can I grow my business? How can I stay afloat? And it's a major problem that we see with a lot of our clients. Obviously, there's a lot of businesses going out there, and everyone knows the stat. What is it? 90% of all businesses close up in the first 3 years. And normally it's because they run out of resources. But in reality, as a business, I really think for the most part, you have an unreliable way of generating money, but you have unlimited resources if you know what you're looking for.
I think it's more a question of how you deploy the resources you do have. We all have resources, right?
Yep.
I mean, we're talking about people who are in business. So they obviously, they were resourceful enough, right? That's what we're talking about. Resources comes from resourcefulness. They were resourceful enough to start a business. So they have resources. Now it's just a question of how do you deploy them? I'm not suggesting their resources are not stretched. One of the things that we're hearing from clients and have been hearing about, especially new clients that we're just starting to work with, is over the past 18 months or so, a couple of things have happened in the economy. Inflation is no secret to anybody. So costs have skyrocketed for a lot of small businesses. It's become untenable, but competition has also gone up. And so their prices have not risen to keep pace with their costs. Yep. And that's put a real squeeze on profits. And it can make people feel, especially, like they don't have the resources they need to maybe in other times people would have taken some of their profit and put it into more advertising or put it into expansion or, all of the old tried and true things that we know as business owners to try, but that don't seem to be working right now because the economics are out of order.
Yeah, and when we look at the word resources inside of business, obviously, we kind of both alluded to finances as resources, but resource, if we write up a list with a new client of all the resources they have, money is just a part of that. Revenue is just a part of that. So what are some of the top resources you think that pops in your mind when you're thinking about actually resources in a business?
Well, it really is very business specific, but the first thing that we look at with when we start working with a new client is, what is their current offer? What are they presenting to the public? Is it the kind of thing that it doesn't really call out to anybody, it doesn't really attract attention, or is it the kind of offer that people can't, an offer so good that people can't walk by, they see it in the window and they can't walk by without taking advantage of it. So that's the first thing we look at, is the offer.
Yeah, because what you're selling is one of the most important things for a business. You can't generate revenue if you don't have something to sell. And so I think, to your point, a lot of clients that come to us, one of the resources we look at is, what are you selling? And it needs to be changed. Or what we often do is actually create a whole new asset that you're able to sell that makes them stand out.
Yeah.
So besides the selling part, are there any other things that you really think of like resources to help a company start bringing in more revenue?
Well, the other thing, it's really a two-pronged approach that we take. And you really brought up the second prong. I'm not sure which of these two things is more important. They may be equal in terms of, the most important thing that you could do. And if there's one thing that people can take away from this podcast, something that they can do tangibly to improve their business, what you just mentioned is probably it. Maybe in conjunction with what I mentioned. So and what you're really talking about is creating a market dominating position. So what a lot of our newer clients are feeling, and the reason they come to us, is because, I mean, I live in Dallas, Texas. We talked about this on the last podcast. We have a dozen of everything within, within a 5-mile radius of most of us. We've got a dozen of everything. So how do you stand out? How do you, and this goes back to the issue that small businesses are having with profitability. It's hard to turn a profit when there are a dozen or two other people within a couple of miles of you all selling the same thing. So then what happens is people end up competing on price. And we talked about how that's a race to the bottom. I mean, the winner of that race ends up losing. I mean, they've won by trading away all their profits in order to get volume. So we don't want to do that. We want to create something for our clients, and this is what people should take away. Got to create something unique, something that everybody else isn't selling. And in that way, there is a core group of customers that will become rabid fans of what it is you're selling because they can only get it from you. So imagine, I've used this example many times, I really love it. Imagine a restaurant that is just incredibly unique, either the food or the setting, or just an incredibly unique, just one of a kind. And people make reservations months in advance because there's a waiting list. And then when they get there, I mean, it might just be an average, it might not be a fancy place. We've talked about a couple of places like this. They're pretty casual, but they have a 3-month waiting list, and they're like, it's like $1,000 for 2 people to eat dinner there. But people don't care because it's a unique experience that they can only get from that restaurant.
Yeah.
And by creating something unique and special like that, you are immediately differentiating yourself from your competition. No matter what your competition says, they will never be able to offer that one special thing that people can only get from you.
Yeah.
And the great thing about this is, well, you touched on this, so I'm going to mention another great thing. You touched on the great thing is this is actually a new asset, no different than buying a new business or some other new asset that you can use to make money. Once you have a market dominating position, you can then use that as the basis of, well, I like to call it a killer offer, an offer that's so good people cannot say no. When you have those two things in combination, you will never have to worry about profits again.
Agreed.
So the other thing I was going to say that's a great thing about this that we haven't mentioned is that this is going to be kind of a controversial statement, I think. Every single business person has the ability to do this because it's specific to you. It is you, specific to you, the individual, this unique thing. So, I mean, somebody else could try to sell something similar, but just the mere fact that it's not coming from you means that it's not the same thing that you sell.
Yeah.
So we all have the ability to do this. And really what we do for our clients that's special is we help them identify that and then put it into a form that will be highly marketable.
Yeah.
But everybody can do this. And everybody can do this for their business right now. I mean, I think if there's one thing people can take away from this podcast that will change their business for the better in just a hugely transformational way, is they can create something unique and special that has high value to a core group of customers. So
what, you know, and you bring up a unique point there as well, that, you know, talking about unique to you. And it was probably about 4 or 5 years ago, and I was working with a coach at that time. And it was kind of, you know, him and I were having this discussion around this. And, you know, he used Tony Robbins as an example. There's a lot of motivational speakers out there. You can take Tony Robbins, Les Brown, you know, the list goes on and on. If Les Brown tries to be Tony Robbins up on stage, he's going to lose. If Tony Robbins tries to be Les Brown on stage, he's going to lose. If each other is being their own individual person, neither one can be beat. And that's what every business owner has to understand. Every business is unique, just like those individual people. And some business even more so, because it is an individual person that you are your business. And so it's a very powerful thing to be able to market that, and it becomes an invaluable resource. And the other really key aspect of that, and one of the reasons why, you know, if you're in a business right now and you do not have something really unique to offer people, it's the first thing you need to focus on, because it's going to be a huge resource going forward. But it's a huge resource you can start using right now, because one of the biggest resources you have.
That's a good point. We want to make that point, that there is an order to these things.
Yep.
And the market, coming up with the market dominating position comes before creating the offer. You need to have that market dominating position. So,
Yep.
so that's why you're saying that's got to come first. That
Correct.
is the first thing you do. Now, I want to answer a question that people are probably screaming at us right now, both people that are listening. And that is, all right, Scott, that's great. How do you do that? How do you come up with something special? I mean, you know, I sell HVAC services, or I'm a massage therapist, or I run a beauty salon, or. So here's how you start. This is what we do with clients. The one thing that people will pay for forever is having their problems solved, because problems cause us pain and we don't like pain. So we will spend a lot of money. In fact, we'll spend on average 9 times more to relieve our pain than we will to get pleasure. So resolving our pain is especially important. So when you're thinking about what you can offer, and by the way, pain comes in a lot of forms. In fact, even when somebody buys a brand new, anything that they love, like let's say they buy a brand new sports car. Well, now it has to be insured. It has to be parked someplace special, might need special gas. These are happy problems, but they still have to be solved, right? And so happy problems are problems still. You know, you buy a yacht, you got to find a dock. Buy a plane, got to find a pilot. You know, these are really happy problems, but still problems. So the easiest place to start is with your current customers. Find out what their problems are. Maybe they have problems using your product or service. I mean, maybe they have problems that you're not even aware of, that are created by using your service. It doesn't mean they don't want your service. It just means they have some other ancillary problem that comes up when they do. If you can solve that problem also, you know, you've got something. So start with your client's problems.
You know, and I think that's a really powerful thing. That's a great point when you're in business. And, you know, when I started my brick and mortar fitness business, I'd already been in the game training clients for multiple years. So you start interviewing those clients, learning really why they work with you, especially clients that have been with me for 8, 10, 15 years. Why have you stuck with me so long? What was it about me? There's a lot of options you can go. You actually drive 15 miles and drive by probably 10 other places to come see me and pay me more than what any other place. Why is that? Right. And so having that unique position, dominating position for myself was, are you 35 to 55 years old? If I did, hey, want to get rid of your dad bod, or get back to your, you know, pre-wedding weight, or, you know, 6-pack abs in 6 minutes, if I would have done any of that generic stuff, it would have fallen flat. Everybody,
because everybody does that, right?
Everybody does that. Yeah. Or, hey, boxing this, or workout in this zone, that. No, what we did was show you how to maximize your time in the gym so you don't spend as much time in there so you get better results. How to now start exercising and be pain-free because you tried a lot of other things and you were constantly hurt, injured. How to finally break through and finally get lifelong results to where you never have to hire a personal trainer ever again. Right. And so some of our messaging was based around some of those key points, which brought us the individuals we were looking for, which was someone that was established in life, had the money to pay high fees, and looking for a VIP service, which we provided. Not just like, hey, we're just going to run in, pay $50, do your Zumba class, do your body pump class. No, I want a very specific VIP service, and we had to position ourselves there to do that.
So for people that are watching this podcast or thinking to themselves, or how do I do this in my own business? How do I really take this information and apply it to my business so that I can make more money? Here's what you do. You start with the problems that and by the way, these could be problems with the service you've been giving them. You've got to be open to getting that feedback.
Correct.
Because if you are, it gives you opportunity. I mean, your customers are telling you something. I was working with a lady once, very nice lady, but she had an anger management problem, and she was a hairstylist, and her business was floundering. And I asked her to call some of her customers and find out why they stopped coming to see her. I told her it might be a little uncomfortable. And a lot of them said that, you did a good job, but you had kind of a bad attitude. You were angry all the time.
Yeah.
So she did a few things. She redecorated her salon, she made it happier. And then she started being more friendly. She hired somebody friendly to work at the front. It took a while because obviously people that felt like they were mistreated are not going to be quick to come back. But what we did was we developed a program for getting testimonials from new customers. And we specifically asked them, how do you feel the staff treated you? Was everybody friendly? We focused on those kinds of questions. And then we highlighted the results in her advertising. And, basically it's how we started with a new reputation. So it's important to consider even the problems that your customers have with you. You want to look at that. So take a look at the problems. This whole thing is really, the whole business is built around solving problems anyway. I mean, if you are in the HVAC business, or you run a hair salon, or you're a massage therapist, people are coming, their hair's too long, or they don't look good, or, their necks are stiff from working out or from a car accident. These are all problem solvers.
Yeah.
The next thing is to create the offer. You need to have two of these things, okay? You need to have something that is unique, that you're the only one who sells, and then you need to combine it with an offer that is unbeatable. So think about, in order to come up with an offer that's unbeatable, we do two things. We go through the same kind of exercise we went through to come up with a market dominating position. We come up with all the objections, but this time we're looking for objections to our own offer. In other words, we've come up with this new market dominating position. Now we've got to poke holes in it. You got to be honest. You got to really look at the thing you created, poke holes in it, and then resolve every objection in your offer. If you can resolve the objections in the offer phase, then when you get to the sales phase, all the objections will already have been answered, and you don't have to do any convincing. There's no persuasion in the sales phase. So that's why it's such an easy, effective thing to do, is to come up with your own market dominating position and package it in an offer that your customers will not be able to say no to.
Yeah. And that goes back to, like you said, asking current clients, past clients, why they're still there, why they left, why they came. It's to understand some of that, because lots of times we have blinders on and we don't see some of the unique things that we have. It's also why it's really important sometimes to have a professional come in and work with you, because they're going to see things that you don't, and they're going to be able to poke things. Because
it's a great point you're making, Scott, and that's true on both sides, right? It's good.
Yep.
It's good we may not see the positive and we may not see the negative.
Yep. And it's kind of like when you have that some item that you've had for 10 years. Maybe it's your favorite car, maybe it's your dream motorcycle, your favorite suit, whatever it may be. Where to you that's a priceless item. You try to sell it to somebody else. Like, I wouldn't pay you $25 for that, right? Because of the emotional attachment. And that's what's sometimes hard with this, right? Is
Yeah.
we get emotionally attached to certain
Well,
things.
we lose our objectivity, right?
Yes, and that's my point. And that's a key point to it. Now, once you have that in place, it's really good for multiple reasons. Number one, you're able to generate new sales through that immediately. But I think the more important part, and I want to talk about another resource that often is very undervalued. When you look at lifetime value of a customer, so your current clients, your past clients, because if you set up a new offer, a new asset, you can actually start selling that immediately to your current clients or to past clients to bring them back in. So it doesn't cost you any money in revenue. It's all previous.
Think about what you're doing. Think about what you're doing. The reason this works is because think about what we just said. We talked about you're solving problems, even problems that your service may have created for your customers.
Yep.
And now you have a solution to the problem. So
Right.
it's not that you're beating up on your customers. It's not that they're going to see, in fact, they're going to appreciate that they know they're having these problems. Now they may not be looking for solutions because they may not know where to look.
Yeah.
Which is even better. That means they don't know what the solution to their problem is.
Yep.
And so you're going to present it to them.
And if I, again, use like fitness as example from my past history, is I did one-on-ones, I did group sessions, but about 20% of my clients, when I launched an online type of offer, which was 8 weeks, which was how to control everything outside the gym. Because if you're spending an hour in the gym a day, well, what are you doing the other 23 hours is a big factor, right? And why do you continue to eat bad things or not sleep or all these other key components that they're all dealing with up here? And all of a sudden, that was a high ticket offer that now my current clients, the ones that knew they needed that, boom, they like, this is perfect. I'm so excited for this. Let's do it. And they had amazing transformations. The other thing is, to your point, some clients that left previously that didn't get the result because they were doing group clients, the moment we offered that, I want to say 35-40% immediately, like, can we start?
You gave them a solution.
Yes. And what, hey, I loved working with you. I just didn't get this X, Y.
I can't emphasize this enough.
Problem.
Even if you're running a luxury clothing boutique,
yep.
even if you're operating a high-end, I'm talking about high-end jewelry store. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Super high-end. Now it's hard to describe a super high-end jewelry store as selling necessary items. But I've actually been in this situation before. I think I may have shared this with you. I was married and I was coming up on an anniversary that I let get away from me, and I called my jeweler, Simon. I said, Simon, I got a problem. It's my anniversary. He says, I have solutions.
Yep.
Yep. Who doesn't love Simon? He's got solutions. So Simon's solutions, by the way, cost me a fortune, literally. But he solved the big problem for me, didn't he?
Yep.
He sent over his solution. My wife was happy. I was happy. My wife was thrilled, actually, and I looked like a big hero. And that made Simon look like a big hero.
And
the problem.
And that's the big key to the whole thing. And it's one way, again, of looking at resources, going back to the very beginning of our conversation. So many people just look at resources, how much money I have in a bank account or how much money do I have in credit? No, how many resources do you have?
What are your assets?
Generate revenue. right? And so those assets become really huge because right in that scenario, it kind of goes with if we use like the iPhone as an example, right? For 10, 15 years, every new iPhone that came out, there was a line around the block. Even if the person's iPhone worked perfectly, like it was just out of the box, they were buying a new one because of XYZ. It was solving some other problem, which in reality, this was a more of an ego problem looking, hey, I'm keeping up with the Joneses. I got the new
Still a problem.
this or
It
that,
still
right?
counts. It
Yep.
still counts.
Yep.
It's
And
it's
so-
not what we think is a serious problem. It's what our customers think is a serious problem. I want to talk about one other problem that actually what I want to talk about is what happens if you don't do this. What happens to businesses if they don't offer something that is special and unique to them? But what happens is they turn into a commodity. So a commodity is if you think about like going to a farmer's market and you see a bushel of corn in one stall and it's $10. Then you go to another stall and you see a bushel of corn and it's $5. Well, the thing about corn is it doesn't really matter which ear or which cornfield or which farm it came from, or even which state. It's corn. It's the same. The bushel is the same. So you would always buy the cheapest bushel of corn, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Because when the products are the same, you look for the lowest price. That's the problem. That's why you want to create a product that's not the same. You don't want to fall into that commodity because then all you can do is win by lowering your price.
One of my favorite videos on that, it's two people sitting in like an open market. They're both selling eggs right next to each other. Have you seen this video?
Yeah, oh yeah. I love
And
that.
so each of them
Yeah,
have
I
like
used
4
that
stacks
for a
of
while we
a
were
dozen
using
eggs.
that.
Say that again.
For a while, we were using that in our ads.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And I love that. I love that one because you know the one person, they're both selling it for 3. The one person drops it to 2. The person selling for 3 buys all the ones for
Buys
2
all the
here and starts selling them all for 5, right? And people don't realize that's what's going up, and that's what happens. But the
That is
person
exactly
that was
what's
selling for 5, that person's the Walmart.
Yes.
And it just ate that smaller company alive because they were able to purchase that. And that's why it's really important to be unique and stand out and have something that differentiates yourself.
I like that you use the Walmart example, Scott, because, and I think I may have mentioned this in a previous episode also, but Walmart's a great example of what you do when you're up against a company that is commoditizing what you're selling and competing on price. So there was a time when Walmart was in this huge expansion mode, and it was taking over small towns all across America. And it was having this horrible effect on the local small town businesses. Small towns were losing their local pharmacy and their local restaurant, their grocery store, the market, the butcher. All of these were falling by the wayside because nobody could compete with Walmart's selection and price. For a while, towns were even boycotting Walmart. Like they didn't want to sell Walmart land and they didn't want to make it.
Yep.
So what happened was, and I think it started with farm. I could be wrong about this, but they've written books and done movies about it. I think it started with small town pharmacists. They were shutting. Think about a pharmacist has a personal relationship almost with its customers. Okay, so they were stymied. They could never offer the products at the same price as Walmart because Walmart has this huge buying power. So what they did was they analyzed what can Walmart not do? No, I mean, nobody could do everything. Well, Walmart can't remember the name of every person that walks into Walmart. They have the people that wave, which is nice, but they can't when you get to the pharmacy window, the pharmacist doesn't remember that you're also taking heart medication with your whatever medication, and that those two could interact and cause a problem. That is something your local pharmacist knows. They know you by name and they can give you that level of service. I mean, if your child is sick and it's an off hour, what do you think is going to happen when you call the Walmart pharmacist?
Yep. Well, and that personal touch is really huge. And some businesses are able to do that, some you're not. One of the restaurants that I worked in restaurants for a long time as well. And there were a lot of restaurants where I had regulars that came just to see me. And some of the really expensive restaurants I worked at that were privately owned, they weren't the franchise type of deals. So we were able to set ourselves up very uniquely and, command it $75 to $100 per plate type of scenario. And people would come in to see me because of they knew that I knew them, knew exactly what they liked, what they wanted, how they liked things. It was the experience they were getting as well. And sometimes the experience you provide the customer is just important as the dominating position you're selling them.
Well,
It
sometimes the
can make you
service is
very
the market
unique.
dominating
Correct.
position.
And that's my point.
You said something, and I just want to respond to that because I don't want anybody to get confused. You said not every business, you said it's great when a business can do that, can offer that kind of personal touch, but not every business can do that. Now, that may be true. There may be some businesses that cannot provide that. However, I just want to be very clear. Every single business, that maybe that is not going to be the special thing that the business has, but every single business can have a special thing that only
Yes.
it does, and it does better than anybody else.
Yeah.
It may not be that personal touch, maybe something else, but there is a special thing. And the starting point is the same for everybody. It's to look at the problems that your current customers are having, either with your service or without your service.
And to your point, have we ever had somebody reach out to us that we said, hey, we can't figure this out, there's nothing unique about you?
No,
Yeah.
I can't think of a single situation, a single business. Now, I've spoken to people that were in businesses that I couldn't do anything for. I tend to stay away from, I don't like to work with investors. I actually did do some work with a hedge fund about 5 years ago. And it was good, but I was working with them on fundraising. But even they had something. It's a hedge fund. And
Right.
even they had something. And the reason I don't like to work with those kinds of businesses is there's nothing wrong with them. It's just that I can't predict the returns.
Correct.
And that's a big part of what we do is we like to be able to tell our clients, all right, we're definitely going to get you. If we take you on as a project, if we work with you, we are definitely gonna get a base hit here at the very least. And we guarantee that. And so I'm not comfortable guaranteeing the returns, but can you imagine if we could guarantee returns by investment firms?
Well, and that's my point is, for the most part, 99% of everyone is going to be, and to prove, to your point, that 99% of all businesses are going to be able to do that. Now, the other thing is, lots of times when people reach out to us, they actually think they have that in place, which they don't. And we have talked about that in a previous episode, so we won't even get into that.
Let's touch on that. I want to talk about that because I think a lot of people, if there's going to be confusion here, I think it's going to be confusion between the chosen niche that people have and confusing their niche with what we're talking about, which is we're not identifying a niche. Niches are kind of dangerous. There's that saying, there's riches and niches, and that's true, but we're not talking about niching down here. We're talking about something that's sounds similar, but it's different. We're talking about creating something special.
Well, here's an example. Like a niche would be if you and I were going to go open up a restaurant, we're deciding between sushi or hamburgers. Those are niche right there, right? Now we decide on doing sushi, so we're choosing that niche. But what's going to make us unique is that we're flying fresh fish in every single morning from the ocean. You're gonna have one person assigned to your table that's gonna make your sushi to order right in front of you. Right? That makes you unique rather than just going into your normal sushi place. That's
Bespoke.
take
It's
off this.
bespoke,
Yes,
bespoke sushi rolls. Scott, wait a minute. I think, do we have a business idea here?
yeah, should we go open one up? Are we doing Dallas or Minnesota?
Bespoke sushi rolls.
But that's the difference, right? Like,
That is,
niche is-
listen, that is a difference.
and a lot of people just have the niche. They
And
just,
by the
hey,
way,
we're
and
choosing
by the
sushi.
way,
That's it.
let's talk about that. It's a silly example. So let's talk about a silly example, okay? I'm a weird guy because I love sushi. I love sushi rolls. I'm allergic to avocado and I don't like anything cheesy or creamy. That knocks out about 95% of all sushi rolls. So if I could go to a place where I could get exactly the fish I want, exactly the stuff I want, nothing creamy or cheesy, none of that white creamy. I don't like stuff they put on there, like mayonnaise, seasoned mayonnaise. I can't stand any of that. So how great would it be if I could go to a sushi place where I get a bespoke sushi roll?
Yep.
You see, there is, now listen, that may only appeal to a tiny core group of people, but to eat sushi that I love, I'd gladly pay 2 or 3 times what I would pay for a regular sushi roll.
Yep.
That's the power of having something special. I would only be able to get my custom made to order sushi rolls from your sushi restaurant.
Yep. Now,
I can't go anywhere else.
Yep. Now, on top of that, if we look at your family, they might all not care and have those limitations. But now the environment that you're in, you have that environment, that experience so much higher. Now instead of going to an average sushi place,
Hey, not only
they're
that,
gonna come
I'm going to
here.
be happy.
Correct.
I'm at the table. Well, listen, it's a different dining experience. My family can tell you between my happiness and my displeasure. When I'm happy, generally, we're going to have a happy evening. If I'm not happy, my wife and kids, the in-laws, nobody's really that happy.
But, and that's my point of, then you make your experience to where every other person,
Yes.
the experience is way different. People don't go to McDonald's to sit inside the restaurant and eat, right? Because that experience is garbage. Not that the food's great either, but no one goes and sits inside.
Wait a minute. Scott, come on, man. First of all, to all of our sponsors, we love you all equally. And to those of you who may not yet be sponsors, how many sponsors do we have at this point, Scott?
Well, I think we just lost McDonald's, but I'm going to save it real quick. I'm going to save it real quick. But they were genius. But they were genius because they realized people weren't going in. So what'd they do? They put playground in.
Playground.
Put a playground in there. So
I'm going to tell you something about McDonald's.
So,
all right, I'm going to bring it all the way back around. Now, I don't eat McDonald's. I mean, it look like I do, but I don't. I haven't. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure I have eaten there in my past. I just can't remember when. But I go there often for a Diet Coke. Here's the thing about McDonald's Diet Coke. I mean, this is not just Diet Coke. It applies to all the soft drinks at McDonald's. McDonald's has engineered their soft drinks to be the best tasting. And they've done it. They did 2 things. Their straws, if you notice, McDonald's straws are a little bit larger. Did we talk about this? We may have talked about this.
yep, we have.
And they allow more carbonation to pass through the straw, enhancing the flavor. Another thing McDonald's does, and I think as far as I know, McDonald's is the only company Coca-Cola does this for, is they deliver the McDonald's stuff in tanks, in giant tanks. Everybody else gets their stuff in plastic bags. And so the mixture, because of the way it's stored, I mean, it's like the difference between drinking out of a glass bottle or drinking out of a can or a plastic bottle. It doesn't taste the same. So McDonald's does something a little different. I notice it. I actually notice it. Now I notice it more when it was explained to me. But
but that's the science of it, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
that's what you have to understand it. So looking at having a successful business and looking at your resources, it is a science to maximize those resources to make your business profitable again. And it doesn't need to always, you don't need to always have money to pay for ads or spend money to make money.
let's make the
Are you
point.
being resourceful right now with what you have?
You bring up a good point. I don't want people to get discouraged. I don't want people to think, okay, well, Scott, if that's great, I do this, I come up with them, but I still don't have any more money. I still don't have an ad budget.
Yeah.
You don't need an ad budget. In fact, we take clients all the time that are not going to run ads because they don't have an ad budget.
Yeah.
Listen, you work with what you can. Okay. So you may have to start a little smaller. You may have to be a little bit more creative, but make a sale, a profitable sale, and then make another one. And then begin to put some of your profits aside, and you will have an advertising war chest. And one of the things we do with our clients is we show them how to expedite that process. So it doesn't, it's not make an extra sale in June or in July, make another one. No. It's not like that. You want to have a system in place so you can begin to expedite these things.
Yeah.
But it's literally like that. You don't have to advertise these things. Start with what you've got. If you've got some customers, start with the people that have already bought with you. Start with people that haven't bought from you. Why? I mean, if there's a reason you could find that people did not buy from you, give them another chance. Show them what you've got now. They were interested enough to check you out. Show them what you've got. This is the power of creating something new. It gives you a reason to communicate with people. It gives you, we call them powerful conversations. And really a conversation is not gonna, if it's not a powerful conversation, it's really not gonna lead anywhere. That's how we define what's a powerful conversation. A powerful conversation is when you're in front of a person who needs what you do or what you sell and has a problem, is looking for a solution, and you're in front of them to explain why you have the solution to their problem. That's a powerful conversation.
Well, and Scott, I think you bring up a really good point there too, when you're talking to resources, that I think we don't obviously have time to go into this today, but I think we do another episode on this, and the resource of networking and powerful conversation and how to keep those pieces moving, because that's a huge aspect too with overall business success.
Yeah.
No matter what you're in, the networking piece, whether it's with current clients, past clients, potential new clients, other businesses, joint ventures, other business owners,
By the way,
your local community. There's so much there.
You bring up a good point with the networking. A lot of what we're talking about sounds like a lot. It sounds like a lot of work, and nobody can do it all. And what happens a lot of times is people get overwhelmed with all the stuff they know they're supposed to do, and usually what I think we see happen is they just give up on everything.
Yeah.
They just go back to the status quo. But so what I want to do is I just want to help people get through that overwhelm. I mean, I think probably more than anything, that's probably one of the biggest things we do with clients is help them get past the overwhelm.
Yeah.
That they've had before working with us.
Yeah. And talking about not running ads or not having the resources for that, the goal too is looking at your business where it is, like what stage of business growth scaling is it at? Because we have some businesses that have like a $200 product, and doing this for them within 60 days, we've able to make 100 sales, and they brought in $20,000, which to them tripled their monthly income. We have other people where they had a $10,000 offer, sold 20, they made $200,000 in 60 days. Or like a used car dealer where instead of selling 5 vehicles this month, they sold 20 vehicles. Those are game-changing numbers. And once you have that, number one, you have the asset in place to continue in that position. But now you also do have other assets and revenue coming in to where you could potentially run some ads at that point, or invest in hiring new staff, or a lot of different ways then to continue growing the business,
So for
get that momentum going again.
people who are watching and are starting to feel the overwhelm, all right, first I got to come up with a market dominating position. Then I got to come up with a killer offer. Then I got to figure out how do I communicate this to people without any money? All right, it's a lot. So I just, for those people that are feeling like it's a lot, I want to boil it down to really simple terms. And I want people to leave here from this podcast feeling like, oh, I could definitely take this action. I can definitely do this. And really, that is the key to the whole thing. Keep taking action, keep moving forward. So what I'm going to start to do on these podcasts, I haven't even talked to you about this. I just decided right now. I think in every podcast, we give people specific steps. What can they do with the thing we're talking about to move forward? What specific action? Just like we would do if we were working with somebody. So I'm going to start right now with the market dominating position and I'm not going to talk about anything else yet. We'll do another episode on the offer and how to combine the offer with the market dominating position.
Well, and Scott, you bring up a good point. We should let some people know we have a Facebook group where we have videos, we have assets.
Yeah. All this, by the way, let's say
how to do this as well.
We don't sell any courses. We haven't said this in a long time. We don't sell courses. We don't sell any information. We implement all of this stuff for our clients and get them results. What that means is we have a ton of information and we give it all away for free.
Step by step.
A step-by-step, there are specific guides, step-by-step guides that you can follow for free, all for free. We don't sell any of this. You don't even have to, well, I guess, what do they have to do, Scott? They have to join our Facebook group? That's it.
Just our free Facebook group.
So it's in the Facebook group in the guide section. You just go in there and there's videos, there's step-by-step guides. Basically, all of our material is in there, isn't it? Do we have templates in there too?
Yeah, oh yeah.
So all that stuff is available. All that stuff is available for free. We're constantly adding. And by the way, we're available for free in there too. I mean, people can talk to us, challenge us, ask us for help, ask us for questions. And we're we're very happy. If somebody wants to talk to us about, hey, Scott, we've come up with a market dominating position. We take a look at it for us.
Correct.
We'd be happy to. There's no money needed for that. Just ask us. We're happy to share with you. We're happy to talk it over with you. But I want to go back to the specific action steps people can take. I know they can get it in the guide, but I want to give it to them right here.
Yep.
And real simple. We're talking about people that have or you think you have a market dominating position, but maybe you want to test it, or you don't have one and you want one. Start with your current clients. Start with them. Find out, ask questions that are specific about your service. What did they love about your service? Why did they come to you? What would they like to see more? Think about the things you would like to know the most and get to the heart of the problems. What are the problems? First of all, do that with your current clients. Do that with your prospective clients, or excuse me, I'm sorry, I misspoke. Do that with people that didn't come to you or didn't come back to you. Those are hard conversations to have for both sides. Maybe it might be difficult, but I'm telling you, I did it with my client, the angry hairstylist, and people even spoke to her. I mean, and these are people that were afraid of her because they thought she was angry. So people will tell you, they will be honest with you if you ask them sincerely. Make a list of all the problems that they came up with. And you want to compartmentalize them. Make a list of the problems they had using your product or service. Make a list of the problems that were created because they successfully used your product or service. Like we gave the example of the yacht. You buy a yacht, that's great. Now you got to park it somewhere. You got to hire a crew. You got all these things. Same kind of thing. That's what you want to get to the heart of. Okay, go ahead.
Also, what problem were they hoping you were going to solve and it never solved?
Excellent. Yes. Also a tough question to ask, right? You got to find out where you failed.
Yep.
It's possible. We see this a lot. We're not always as great as we think we are. And what really counts is the perception of our greatness in our customers' eyes. So that's really, Can be difficult. All right, once you have that, then you can think of what are the things, what are the ways, if you want to think big, it doesn't matter at the beginning how much it costs. If the problem is traffic is too heavy to get to your spa or something, would it be easier if we sent the chauffeur-driven limousine? How about a helicopter? They sound ridiculous, but there are some people that would be willing to pay for that. So it's not ridiculous. It solves a problem. You want to this is how you brainstorm. And then you want to filter down. Now, listen, if you're selling $5,000 or $10,000 med spa services, you might be able to afford to do a little bit more for your customers. If you're selling a $50 haircut, maybe you got to do a little bit less. It has to fit within your service. But you want to come up with a list of things that you can do. They could be products, they could be services, they could just be nice things that you can do to make your clients more comfortable. Make an exhaustive list of those things. And in there is the secret sauce. In there is now, listen, if you don't see it, come to our Facebook group and ask us. It's possible that the things you're identifying as problems are not really problems, or the things that you're identifying are not really, the problem has to be serious enough that somebody wants it solved. So, and the result, the resolution has to be serious enough that people would be willing to pay for it. So there are some caveats. That's kind of what we do. We help you. So that's why I'm saying, if anybody wants some feedback, it's free. Come to our Facebook group. They can ask you, they can ask me.
Yep, send us a message, whatever it may be.
It doesn't have to be public. They don't have to publicly post it. If this come to the Facebook group, they can privately ask us. We're happy to help them. We love doing this. By the way, this is one of my favorite parts of what we do.
I agree.
Coming up with a special sauce and then putting it into a special offer. I love to see, our clients are amazed themselves when they see what we come up with for their special thing and their offer. Like, they can't, a lot of times our clients can't believe that they can offer something so great.
Agreed.
So that's action people can take right now in their businesses today that will have a positive impact. I'm not going to talk about what to do next because nobody needs to know the next step until they go through this.
Well, and I think that, on the next episode, we talk about that. We talk about other resources, networking piece and things of that. So once you have that, right, because again, we've already given people a ton of information, and I'm glad that you broke that down, because that's the most important part, is to start looking at how to craft that. And you gave really good piece by piece there. So yeah, I think we covered a lot here today.
We did.
Nice work. And a lot of people don't know, and maybe if you've been following us, but whenever Scott and I are having business meetings with ourselves internally or with a client, we always say, hey, how do you grade that one?
Yeah. Or sometimes when I'm just talking to myself.
That's very true. So how do you grade today's conversation, Scott?
Okay, here's the scale I'm going to use for grading podcasts, because we're the scale I'm going to use is whether I'm just for myself, whether or not I actually gave people some substantive information they can use right now in their businesses to go make money. If I do that, I pass. If I don't do, or A, if I don't do that, I fail, I get an F. I feel like I did that pretty well today. And actually, I would say this is the first episode I've done that. But I like it. I like that. I like giving people something specific. By the way, I'll make another offer. If somebody wants more information about this, they can come to our Facebook group and message us. But we'll give them this in writing. Like, I think it's probably in there in the guide section.
It is.
Isn't it?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. All right. So it's already in there. Go to our Facebook group. Plug the Facebook group. What is it?
I'll put the link in the comments, in the description.
You don't want to say the name? I want to say the name.
Say it. Go.
Your VP of Growth.
There it is.
It's your imagine, we talk about resources. Imagine whoever's listening to this right now, imagine in your business, you had a vice president of growth on the payroll, just in the office next door. And anytime, like you're looking at the books, you think there's no profit. You go over to your vice president of growth and say, man, I need a 30% increase in profit today.
Yeah. And the
That's
great thing, the great thing about it is the group is, so you feel like you have Scott or myself right down the hallway, like you just said, and knock, you just jump in there, or there's so many resources.
And the reason we're the VPs of growth and not the presidents or CEOs of growth, because our clients are that. We work for them.
Correct.
And even if you're not a client, if you're in the Facebook group, we're happy to work for you for free.
Yep. Now, you know, the other piece of that is too, of giving you the tools to where you know what a VP of growth would also do inside your business. Because honestly, we're all business owners. We can't wear every hat. We can't learn everything. And at a certain point, you have to, at the very beginning, you have to learn a lot. But at a certain
Small
point,
business owners are stuck, aren't they?
Yep.
They're not marketing experts. They're not sales. I mean, if somebody's in the HVAC, I pick on HVAC a lot because it's skilled, or a plumber, electrician. You know, how are they supposed to go to electrician school or massage therapy school or insurance broker school and marketing school? I don't know anything about insurance, but I know about how to sell it.
Yeah.
So put those two things together. I don't want people to feel like this is stuff they should have known, or it's nothing like that. There's no reason anybody not in this business would know this unless they were a student of this stuff.
Correct. So,
or they just got lucky. A lot of us get lucky.
Yep.
I mean, you know, I got lucky after about 10 years of starvation.
Yep. It's always luck, right? The 10 years of learning everything and slaving away and failing.
Struggle for years and then you become an overnight success.
Yep, correct. So
how come nobody said anything when I was eating jam sandwiches? All right.
Well, awesome, Scott. Have a good rest of your day. And follow us for our next episode. We'll go deeper into some of the resources, some of the networking and more tips. And I agree, Scott, giving people, you know, tangible, actionable steps every single time is so key.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
See ya.